ever caught yourself saying, no worries? Well, I'm Steph.
And I'm Steph, and we have some worries. Hi, everyone. I'm Steph with an F.
And I'm Steph with a PH. And welcome back to Some Worries, the podcast brought to you by two anxious bitches.
Hang out with us today while we get even spookier in today's episode, a killer episode.
Ooh, buckle up, guys. It's about to get scary.
Boo-ckle.
Buckle up.
So today we're talking about like spooky imagery, spooky movies, TV, books, things that have stuck with us, things that maybe traumatized us,
Hmm.
and things that made us even more anxious than we already are.
Yeah.
So to start us off, is there any scene in a book or a movie that has kind of stuck with you?
Oh, God. Here's the thing, right? So, self-proclaimed anxious bitch. Um, my brain doesn't need a lot of help coming up with scary things. It just kind of does that automatically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So horror for me, like movies in particular, I don't watch a lot of them because I know myself and I know that I will watch it and it'll get stuck in there. So some examples from the past before I knew this about myself. Um, a movie that I'm not going to say is like, I didn't think it was that scary, but scenes stuck with me. So, like The Ring, right?
Yeah.
That's one of those ones where I watched it in high school and I was like, it's not that scary. But there are like individual things, like the weird crab walk thing.
Mm,
Eh,
mm-mm,
yeah, yeah,
mm-mm.
creepy, right? The when she's in the well and she's like scratching her nails trying to get out of the well and like her nails are coming off like like these are the things that I
Mhm,
can't
mhm.
handle. And so I feel like that's a really good example of maybe my feelings on horror in general because I'm like I'm here for the story most of the time, but sometimes the stuff that comes with it, I can't handle it. I'm too anxious.
Which is hilarious because you read horror books.
I know. That's it's really strange. Like I can read a lot of it. Um I think maybe it's because it's my own brain and it's not maybe when I'm reading it, I'm not coming up with anything that my brain isn't already coming up with because I'm using my own imagination to think about it. Maybe that makes it different than
Yeah,
seeing the
there probably is
visual.
something, yeah, for like
Yeah.
actually seeing it. Like
Yes.
when you're reading and you're imagining it, you can imagine it to a lesser degree.
Yeah.
But when you're seeing it, it's like it's there, it's how it is. And
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, it gets stuck in your head. Like I have a few things like that too. Like The
Yeah, tell
Ring,
me.
I don't like when bodies move in ways they're
Mm.
not supposed to move.
Yep, yep.
So that creepy crawly thing in The Ring, mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene like that in The Grudge where she's like going down the stairs on all fours and her
Mm-hmm.
legs are like going over her arms and ugh, I
Yeah.
don't like it.
Yeah.
And like in the new It movies, I think it's the first one, um, they're in all the kids are in this like little old lady's apartment and she goes to make them tea and they're in the living room and they're just like talking and all of a sudden you see this naked old woman
Oh
like
no.
creepy dance by the doorway.
Oh my
And it's
God.
like obviously there's like something wrong with her, like she's,
Well, yeah,
possessed or
obviously.
whatever. And so obviously she's like a little old lady
That's
who's
not
naked in
normal
front of
grandma behavior
children.
stuff. I don't know who told you that. That's not normal. Your grandma should not do that.
Yeah, but like I don't know, it's like this little creepy fucking dance that she does
Mhm.
across the doorway and to this day that movie came out like 5 6 years ago at this point, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And to this day, out of nowhere, I'll have had a fine normal day. I'll be laying in bed facing away from the doorway, and I get this image that this little old lady is just creeped past my doorway out of fucking nowhere. And I will have to literally like turn over and like put on like Big Mouth or an ASMR video or
Mhm.
something on my phone to help my brain calm back down.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
it's so weird how that shit like relates to anxiety. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, I'm fine. I'm normal, which is how I could be. And then all of a sudden I feel super anxious. Well, all of
Mhm.
a sudden I see a creepy naked old lady walking by my doorway. It's just like, what is wrong with our brains?
Yeah. Is anxiety a creepy old lady? Is that the takeaway?
Naked, a creepy old naked
A
lady.
creepy old naked lady, that's anxiety. You know,
That
scientists
is.
pack it in, we figured it out.
We have just solved anxiety. Now we just need to
Mhm.
figure out how to kill the creepy old naked lady
That's right.
so that
On-
anxiety can go away.
Once you take her out, no more anxiety.
I have like, it's so funny because I like, overall, I like
Mhm.
scary movies and horror and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's some things that I can't do, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. But
But you watch a
I
lot.
like, huh, I do. I watch a
Yeah.
lot. Like last October, I did this like challenge to watch something related to Halloween or spooky or whatever every single
Mhm.
day in October. So I watch a lot,
Yeah.
but there are just, and overall, I don't remember any of it. You know, like
Mhm.
you watch a movie and you're like, I remember details, but there are some things that get stuck in my head, and that's one of them. Another is in The Grudge, like I said, with her going down the stairs. But
Mhm.
also there's I think it's The Grudge. There's a scene where she's in the shower and
Mm.
she's washing her hair, and she goes into the like back of her head, and there is a hand
Oh,
coming out of her head and her hair.
no.
And like, if you're listening to this and you're not watching, I don't have hair. So I don't quite do that, but I still wash my head.
Mhm.
And some days I just get like this creepy feeling in the shower, and I'm like, I have to like scrub the back of my head to like make sure there's no creepy hand.
Scrub the hand away.
Scrub the hand away. Yeah,
Yeah.
then it's like just those little scenes, and like I
Mhm.
honestly I don't remember really anything else about The Grudge but those
Mhm.
two things.
Yeah.
And that movie's not scary.
Yeah,
It
that's
to
one I
me.
watched. And I feel like
Yeah.
if I've seen it on the scary meter, it's pretty low, right?
Right.
Like I'm not watching the real scary stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't feel like it was like that scary. But it definitely had those moments, kind of like The Ring. Like I was saying, like there's just
Yeah.
like those ones that stick in your brain. And yeah, there's another one. This I just thought of this when you were talking. This is not a horror movie, okay? But it's maybe
Okay.
an example of this in not even in horror. Ghostbusters, like the original.
Yeah.
Okay? Do you remember the scene where the woman, I cannot remember her character's name or even the actor's name at this point. She's drawing a bath
Yeah.
and this weird sludge starts coming out of the drain.
Mhm.
To this day, if I'm taking a bath, I am so terrified of faucets and drains. Like the whole time I'm taking a bath, like it's not even that relaxing because I'm like, oh God, what if a horrible sludge comes out of the faucet right now while I'm in here? What will
I
I
feel like
do?
that is like a very, like that's done a lot in horror
Yeah,
movies. Like it's
it
not just
is.
Ghostbusters. Like
Yeah.
there's I don't remember what movie it is, but where blood starts coming up.
Yeah.
Like there's just so
Blood.
many
Yep.
things like that. And yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, that's what horror does so well is they prey upon those fears that people have. And that's
Mhm.
true in like books too, where and obviously like Stephen King is like really good at that.
Mhm.
He wrote a book a few years ago called The Outsider,
Mm.
which I loved that book, but like I'm 32 years old and I am still sometimes scared about something being under my bed.
Yeah. Who isn't?
Who isn't? Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
freaky.
there's a scene in that where there is someone under the bed, and
Ugh.
like it took me a while to fall asleep that night. It's like that's what horror does. Like they prey upon people's fears and anxieties,
Mhm.
and they do a good job.
They
They do a
do.
good job.
They know what they're doing. mean, it's
Had
scary.
what another one that is like it is horror, but it's like I don't know. Millennials will like totally know what I'm talking about. Um, Final Destination.
Oh,
Do
yep.
I even need to tell you what scene I'm talking
Oh, I
about?
know. I know. You're talking about the logs.
Ugh,
Yeah.
yes, it's scary.
So scary. Honestly, speaking of, things that traumatized us, that scene in that movie,
Yes, it did.
yeah, like if you've seen it, we don't have to tell you. If you haven't seen it, in the film, the main characters, they are driving in a car and there is a log truck in front of them with a bunch of logs on it, being logged. The logs fall off the truck and one of them goes shh right back into the truck, pierces through the windshield and murders the person sitting in the back middle seat. It's
Yep,
horrifying.
it is terrifying. And to
Yes.
this day, I will not drive behind a log truck. Like if
Nope.
it's a two-lane
Nope.
street, I'm passing that fucking truck.
That's
If it's a
right.
one-way street or one lane street, I
Hmm.
am like so far behind that fucking truck. Like so far. I
You're
don't care if I
crawling.
have to slow down to a crawl
Uh-huh.
or I will try to pass it
Yeah.
because yeah, it is ugh, it
Yeah.
scares the shit out of me.
It
And
still scares me too.
that's like one thing. So, like I said, I watch a lot of scary stuff, but one thing that I cannot do is movies based on true events
Mm.
because it has happened. So,
Yeah.
what's to say it can't happen to me?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. It's
And
not, you don't have like
so,
the comfort of fiction. It really
exactly.
happened.
Yeah, like that's almost why I prefer like supernatural or paranormal kind of stuff
Mm.
because it's like I mean it still could happen maybe,
Yeah.
but like it's far less likely than like a fucking log falling off a truck and killing me.
Yeah, that one's a very specific thing that can happen to you. And
Yeah.
everybody drives for the most part. Not everybody drives, but those who do have probably been behind something like that, whether it's a log truck or a truck with spooling wire on it or a truck that's lugging other cars. Like you've been behind something. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's scary. It's scary
Yeah.
to think about.
And like I have a a memory when I used to live in Mississippi. I won't go into it because it like really happened, but
Oh no.
I'll just say 2 18-wheelers and a car. And so like I know it can happen.
Yeah.
So I yeah, that one freaks me out. I also did you ever watch the movie Strangers?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So this is another scene that like fully traumatized me.
Okay.
It's a couple um and all of a sudden like they live a normal life whatever in this like
Mhm.
suburban town. And they start seeing people standing in their yard with freaky masks on just like staring at them and like their
Ew.
phone rings and like this and that. Well, these people come into their house and start like torturing them basically and they tie them up and at
No.
one point the heroine is like why are you doing this and the creepy dude is like because you were home and to this
Yeah.
like and I live alone so I'm just
Yeah.
like
It's terrifying.
oh it is so scary I fucking
Oh.
hated that it oh I
No.
yeah it scared the shit out of me I was
Yeah.
scared senseless.
That's too scary. I mean, that's the common anxiety thing for me anyway, is at night checking my doors like 3 times to make sure they're locked. So the
Yep.
idea even just of somebody coming into my house, terrifying. And then the
Mm-hmm.
idea of like that something like that happening, oh hell no. No way.
Yep.
Oh,
Same. I check my front door lock like 4 times before I go to
yeah.
sleep. And sometimes I know I checked it and I'll be in bed and I'm like, I gotta go check it.
Just in case.
Just in case
In
it
case I
somehow.
hallucinated those last 3 times, I just need to make sure. Yeah,
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 exactly, exactly.
totally. I feel
Are
you.
there like any like for me, like I said, based on true events, are there
Hmm.
like things that like you will not do?
I definitely can't do things that are too violent, too much gore. And it's not necessarily the blood that bothers me. It's the my brain doesn't need any more creative ways to think about how I could be injured or killed
Yeah.
because it already comes up with lots on its own. That's what we call intrusive thoughts, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need to give my brain any more ideas. I'm already nervous all the time. Like I have times when I'm cooking and I'm cutting with a knife and I'm like, what if this knife just turned around right now and stabbed me in the heart? Not going to happen, but my brain thinks it.
Yeah.
And so horror movies that kind of have those elements of just violent deaths or really traumatic injuries, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can't do that. And the paranormally stuff, it's it's real 50-50 for me
Okay.
because and I don't even know how to quantify if it's an acceptable level or not because I don't know that there's like one clear cut way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Some I'm okay with. I think it's because I'm genuinely interested in supernatural things. Those of you who listened to our episode before this, where we talked about ghosts and aliens and all of that fun stuff, I find it all really interesting, and so I'm intrigued in it in like terms of the topic. Um, but I also got some religious trauma I'm working through, and so some of like the demon shit doesn't sit right in my brain. So I have to like, I don't know, kind of take it on a case by case basis,
Mm-hmm.
and just maybe watch it, and then if it's not good, just stop.
That is fair. That is
Yeah,
another
yeah,
one for me is dolls and
yeah.
mannequins.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I cannot do that. So like I don't remember what they're called, but that like series of the like ventriloquist dummy of horror movies, like
Oh
and
yeah.
like Annabelle. Did I ever
Mm-hmm.
tell you, speaking of Annabelle,
Uh-huh.
one time, might have been like 7 years ago at this point, I went and stayed with my aunt um for a night, and she was giving me a tour of her house,
Uh-huh.
and she took me into this one room that had like a day bed with a
Uh-huh.
fucking porcelain doll sitting on it
Nope.
named Annabelle.
No, come on. Come on.
And she was like, this is Annabelle's room. And she was like, and just so you know, sometimes sometimes at night I'll hear little feet running around the living room. And I'm just like,
What?
what?
These are details that need to be disclosed before one enters said location.
Before I'm gonna spend the night there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That
Oh
shit.
no.
So like, yeah, when like that, and I think it was after that Annabelle movie came out too. So
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, but yeah, I can't do dolls. I can't do
Yeah.
mannequins. Like, this makes me sound so dumb, but I love Doctor Who.
I was gonna say, I was literally going to bring up the Doctor Who episode with the freaky ass mannequins. You
So
beat me to
that's
it.
the first episode
It
of
is.
the reboot.
Yes.
And I was in college, and my friends were like, you would love Doctor Who. Like, you need to watch it. No warning.
No
They
trigger warning for
knew
that.
I did not like mannequins. No warning. And I
Oh
went and
no.
watched that episode, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm glad. I loved Christopher Eccleston. So I was
Uh-huh.
like, all right, I'm still going to continue. I do really like Doctor Who,
Mm-hmm.
but mm-mm, I don't like
Yeah.
it. Can't do it.
Yeah. Those mannequins were creepy. That whole episode
They
was like
were, because like they
massively
looked
creepy.
like mannequins.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes it's like mannequins come to life and it's like this is too CGI, but
Mm-hmm.
that was like they looked like fucking plastic mannequins.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. I
Yeah.
don't like it. I don't
Yeah.
like it.
I don't like mannequins in real life. If I'm at the store and I see one, I'm freaked out the whole time. I Part of it I think is because they're tricksy because sometimes I think it's a person, especially the ones now that like have painted faces on where you can actually like they
Do
have
you know the
detailed them to
Old
make them look like
Navy?
people. Yes.
The
Yes,
Old
exactly.
Navy mannequins should be fucking lit on fire
Literally. Yes,
with like
please.
this smile. Ugh,
Oh,
I hate
it's
them.
no, it's terrible. I will literally think there's somebody behind me and I'll be like, "Oh, excuse me." And then no, it's just one of those creepy ass mannequins. Who decided
I
this was
don't
a
like
good
them.
idea? Mm-mm.
Honestly, who was like, you know what we need? More realistic people looking ways to display our clothes. Like, I'm sorry. I can. visualize
Yeah.
what the clothes will look on me or on
Mhm.
other people with those headless little sculpture things.
Yeah.
I That is good enough.
It's good enough. We don't
They
need
don't
more
need
detail.
faces. I'm sorry.
Mm-mm.
Ugh,
No.
I don't
So
like them.
creepy.
Yeah. You know what? Another thing, another series or a couple of series that I actually really love, but has some things that have stuck in my head are the Mike Flanagan series,
Oh
which,
yeah, you told me about
you
these. I
know, we've
haven't
been trying to
watched the
get you to watch. Me
I
and
know, and
Mary
I'm
want you
like,
to watch.
is it spooky? I don't
You need
know.
to watch Midnight Mass.
Okay.
Midnight Mass is not scary.
Okay.
Like, knowing things that you have watched, you can
Hmm.
handle Midnight Mass.
Okay.
And that's actually the one that I started with as well, which I think was good because it was like a good introduction to
Hmm.
his like worlds. Then I watched Hill House, which I don't think is scary really. It's like a ghost story fairy tale kind of thing.
Yeah.
It
Is
has
it based
creepy
on the Shirley
things.
Jackson book?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I haven't read the book. I think
Hmm.
they changed the setup a little
Okay.
bit, but yeah, I think overall it's the same.
Okay.
And then the last series that I watched is Bly Manor, which is so good, but it is, in my opinion, like actually scary. Like there are some scary
Oh boy.
parts to it. I still think you could handle it.
You
I don't
think
know.
so?
But there's a character in the show called the Bent Neck Lady.
Oh no. That doesn't
Uh-huh.
sound good.
No, it doesn't. And you, like I said, I don't like when bodies move or
Yep.
appear in ways they're not supposed to.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I watched that with Mary, who is our mutual friend, and I actually had to like tell her to tell me when the bent neck lady was coming,
Yep. Okay.
because I can't do it. And I won't spoil it, but like at the end, you find out who the bent neck lady is, and you see her become the bent neck lady, and like how that happens.
Hmm.
And I was like, all right, I think I can handle this now. Like the rest of the show wasn't as scary to me. I'll watch it. And I wish I hadn't.
Oh no.
Because
That traumatizing?
yeah,
Oh.
it's traumatizing, like both watching it and like then seeing more of her, because then I saw her as the bent neck lady. So like the whole time I had been like looking away, and
Mm-hmm.
then I saw her. So it's traumatizing in that way for me because I don't like that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And then the way that it happens is also very traumatizing. So it's tough to watch,
Okay.
I will
Okay.
say. I think for me that was like the scariest part. And it's not really scary. It's just like, to me, like these are things
Hmm.
for me
Yeah.
that scare me. And I
Yeah.
think that's like what horror is all around, because it's like not everything, like I don't find like Paranormal Activity. I My brother hated me. We saw that together in the theater and I was laughing. It was so dumb. So like that doesn't scare me, but like
Yeah.
that might scare you because it's like
Yeah.
a whole paranormal thing. So
Hmm.
it's just like it's so interesting to talk to people about spooky stuff.
Yeah. It is so individual. You're right. Like
Yeah.
it's like we bring our own baggage to
We
whatever
do.
whatever we watch or read, and the
Mhm.
same is true for horror. So any of those things that are kind of a little too close to things that make us uncomfortable, like those are the things we remember,
Yeah,
unfortunately, and they traumatize us more.
they do. They do. Oh man. Yeah. And then it's like what you were saying with intrusive thoughts, because then it's like you just can't get it out of your head. You
Hmm.
just see it forever.
Yep. Forever.
Ugh. All
Yeah.
right. So on the other hand, should we do a little ABC recommends?
Oh, Anxious Bitches Club is now in the business of recommending media. I
Yeah,
love it.
that's what I thought we could do a little something different. So, if
Yeah.
you remember, for those of you who are listening or watching, ABC is Anxious Bitches Club. It's a little special segment we do every once in a while. So, I thought today we could do some recommendations
Mm.
of, horror movies, TV shows, books, anything that um, are ones that we really like.
Or
So do
horror adjacent for people like me who maybe
or
are
horror
not
adjacent. Yes, fair
quite
enough.
in the
Fair enough.
full horror area yet.
Yeah.
We'll give you some recommendations of stuff that's a little tamer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm gonna start if that's okay.
Yeah. Hit me with it.
So this movie, I don't know if it's horror adjacent. It's not really horror.
Okay.
It's more like psychological thriller,
Mm-hmm.
psychological paranormal. I don't even know what
Okay.
I'm saying.
Okay.
My favorite movie ever is Donnie Darko. Have you seen it?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I love that movie.
Okay,
That's
good.
a good movie.
It's so good.
So
Like
good.
it's like not really horror, but Frank is pretty fucking creepy.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's set around Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So perfect recommendation if you're looking for things to watch this October or this month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what's interesting, actually, that we're talking about this today? We're recording this episode in advance. And today is July 31st, which is the day that some rocket is supposed to crash land somewhere in the world and we don't know where.
That
So,
is true. I
so I
forgot
just feel
about
like
that.
talking about Donnie Darko, appropriate.
Yeah. I don't maybe there's gonna be like some weird timeline shit happening now.
I don't know.
I
Could get
don't know.
interesting.
All right, you give one now. We'll go back and forth.
We'll
How
go
about
back
that?
and forth. Okay, I love it. Okay, so I'm going to give some examples of, well, okay, a show I love that I think is horror adjacent ish.
Okay.
What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
Have you watched this?
I think I watched season 1.
Okay.
I don't know. Actually, I lied. I don't think I have finished it.
Okay.
And I will tell you why.
Tell me.
I want to. It for me it's not bingeable because secondhand embarrassment is something
Oh,
that's really hard for me.
it is
Like
cringe. Yeah.
it's super cringe,
Hmm.
but I have been told I need to get to the part where I think Guillermo
Oh,
becomes
Guillermo.
like badass.
Yes. Oh my God. Guillermo is like the best character. I mean, they're all great, and so like that's
Yeah.
saying something because like they all are just incredible actors, and the show is wonderful. But Guillermo, yes, you have to get to that point. I think the end of it's either season 2 or season 3 where he is just full on ass kicking. I mean, kind of both.
Okay.
There's full on. I think there's full on ass kicking in both, which is why I can't remember which one is which. But yes, you need to get to that part.
Well, I'm planning on doing that challenge again this October if
Oh,
anyone wants to join me.
perfect.
And so maybe that'll be my watch and I'll do
Yes.
like I'll space it out because I just can't. The cringe is like not bingeable for me. I don't know.
That's fair. I mean, they are, for those who haven't seen the show, they are vampires who have been around for like thousands of years. But they are also really helpless. So they have been in the world for a very long time. Um, and they're really good at murdering. They're really good at like having sex. They're not very good at like paying their bills, lawn maintenance, any of the things you need in the modern world. And it's
It's
just
such an interesting setup though
it
because
is.
like that is what it would be like
Mm-hmm.
unless like you had like a underground bunker or something as a vampire. Like you
Mm-hmm.
would have to like be a member of society.
You'd have to
And
figure it
so
out.
it's a
Yeah.
really funny setup. I love the energy vampire though. That shit
Yes.
kills me
Yes.
because those are real people.
We all know one. We all
Well,
know at least
you
one
know
energy
an energy
vampire.
vampire.
If you don't know one, maybe you are one. Like
Damn. Calling people
I
out.
know, right? I don't mean that. I do mean it, but yes, I love Colin also. Just like the whole energy vampire thing. It's so great.
It's really funny. Isn't that based on a UK or yeah, a British show?
So there was a movie of What We Do in the
Oh,
Shadows
with Taika,
with
right?
Taika in it. Yeah. I know we love Taika. So if you haven't seen the movie, you could watch the movie. It also has like Jermaine in it and a couple others. It's and that one feels a little more solidly horror, perhaps. It's still funny,
Hmm.
but it's I don't know. I think if you're like just wanting to watch a little bit of it to see get a little taste, the movie's pretty good too.
Okay. All right, I'll add that to my list too.
Yeah, add it to your October list.
So on another movie recommendation that is like funny, um, and maybe not supposed it's not supposed to be funny. But
The
another
best kind.
favorite of mine is Jennifer's Body,
Ah, okay.
which is not it's not a good movie, but it is a good movie. It's so good. I love it so much. I watch it all the time. I have like Jennifer's Body merch. Like I have a hat that's like justice for Jennifer's Body
Oh
because
my God.
like people need to see it. They need to see it. And also Megan Fox is
Mm,
really hot.
mm.
Like
I
I
mean,
should have realized that I was queer a long
yeah.
time ago.
There was your first sign, was Jennifer's Body. That
Honestly.
was
I
your
mean, also
awakening.
Amanda Seyfried. Like that
Yeah.
movie's just like
They're both
there's hot
gorgeous.
people. I can't
Yeah.
remember the guy's name, but also like just everyone.
Everybody's beautiful. It's a movie where
Everyone.
everybody's beautiful.
Everyone. But that is I mean it's horror. She like eats people.
Oh,
Um
I didn't know she eats people.
oh,
I
Steph,
haven't
we're
seen
gonna have
it.
a movie night. We're
Okay.
gonna have a movie night.
We're
You
we're
gotta
gonna do
watch
it.
it.
We're gonna binge.
It's not actually scary. Like
Okay.
there's like some scares and like stuff like that.
Mm, okay. You'll have to
But
warn me of the jump scares because I get really um I'm already jumpy. Just as like my natural
anxious,
state.
hashtag anxious.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so jump scares always get me like too much and I'm just like ah and then I get really mad because it scared me and I don't like that it scared
Well,
me.
I'll give you fair warning.
Okay.
Um, but it is I just love it. It's a really good movie.
Nice. Yeah, we'll have to binge it and then I can be part of the Jennifer's Body fan club. I can join it with you.
I mean, it's like one of those movies like it like Donnie Darko that has like a very big cult following.
Mm,
I
okay.
feel like Donnie Darko has like been accepted a little more into the mainstream, but
Mhm.
like it wasn't when it came out.
No, no, I remember
Um,
when it was very like underground kind of like not a lot
mhm.
of people had seen it. Yeah.
I feel like, Jake Gyllenhaal is like Jake Gyllenhaal now,
Yeah.
so it's like, all right, everyone has to see it.
Yeah.
It's surprising that Jennifer's Body hasn't made it to that level because like Megan Fox, like
Yeah.
everyone knows her.
Mhm.
But highly recommend. I could talk about that movie forever. I love it. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Um, do you
So
have another
I
one?
yeah, I was gonna say I can do another one. I'm gonna recommend a parody,
Oh my god, I
a
love
horror
parodies.
parody.
All right.
I'm a big fan of horror parodies. Well, well, I'm sure it'll come up in many an episode. My love of horror parodies, but uh, Shaun of the Dead. Did you see that?
Oh, that is like one of my favorite movies.
Yes.
It's
Ugh,
so good.
it's so
It's so
good,
funny.
so funny, so good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of those ones I should rewatch because it's been a few years and but it's just so good. I'm like I gotta get back in and so if you haven't seen it, watch it along with me this year because it's
Yes.
worth it. It's so funny.
You got to watch it. Oh my god, I might have to go watch that today. So good.
Yes.
Speaking of parodies, Scary Movie.
Yes. The classic, the OG.
The
Yes.
OG horror parody.
Mm-hmm.
I love all of those movies. The first one is obviously the best.
Yeah.
But like, oh my god, they're so funny. The scene with Ghostface when they're all like really really high.
Yeah.
Was
And the faces.
that?
Yeah. Was that I still text that to you
Yeah,
every now and then I'll be like, "What's up?"
they're just so
So
stupid and
good.
so funny. And the scene at the end where they're like killing each other is it's just
Hmm.
so good. It's just
It's
so good.
it's so good. It's a classic. It's probably very of its time. Just based on like the WhatsApp and like other jokes that I remember. I'm like, oh, I'm probably gonna watch that now and be like, whoa, I forgot about that cultural moment in, the early 2000s or whenever it came out. Um,
Probably.
yeah, I'm gonna be like, whoa, I forgot about that. But Yeah, maybe that's another rewatch. That's so good.
I think it's a like, yeah, I need to watch it. When did that come out? Like, that came
It's
out like when
it's
we
like
were pretty young.
yeah, I feel like it's got to be like late 90s, early aughts.
Yeah, like at least 20 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, at
That
least.
is wild.
I know. It's insane to think about. Like,
I can't
man.
even. Oh man, that's funny. I have another one that like I is funny,
Mhm.
but not in like it's funny-ish throughout, but then it's very funny at the end, which I
Okay.
won't spoil because I don't think you've seen it.
Okay.
Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I've seen this one.
So that one is like I can't really say too much without spoiling it, but
Okay.
it's a horror movie about teens who go to a cabin in the woods. And so it's like that, like, very classic horror movie
Mhm.
setup
Yep.
where there's like a killer and like a haunted house kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, and it's got one of the Hemsworth. Is that Chris or Liam Hemsworth? It's got one
Oh,
of the Hemsworths in it.
really?
Yeah, I think it's
Wow.
Chris. I'm pretty sure it's Chris Hemsworth as like the main dude.
Okay.
And it is ridiculous and very fun. So like I think you could do it
Okay.
because it's scary in the moment, but
Okay.
then things happen. It's really hard to talk about this movie because you just got to like talk around it
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
But I will just say you find things out at the end
Mhm.
which make it less scary. So I think you could do it because it won't stick with you once you watch the end. I need some
Okay.
water.
Okay. Yeah. You hydrate. It's important.
Gotta hydrate.
Gotta hydrate. That's our
Um,
other tip for all the anxious bitches out there. Stay hydrated.
hydrate, you thirsty ass bitch. um, yeah. So that's another one that I really recommend.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
We'll make a list
We
of
will.
all of our recommendations and we'll post it on social media somewhere
Yeah,
or
we'll
our
put it
website.
somewhere for folks to peruse.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna jump into books because as we kind of talked about a little earlier, I read horror more than I watch horror.
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, I don't even know that some of the stuff I read is like full on horror necessarily, but it's sort of horror adjacent.
Okay.
Like I am a big fan of sort of like gothic spooky books. Like
Mm.
that's sort of like my sweet spot, bread and butter.
Hmm.
Love it. So one that I definitely recommend if that's also your jam, Mexican Gothic. Oh,
Classic. Classic.
classic. It's so good. It's set in Mexico and it follows this sort of debutante, young, well-to-do woman who goes to visit, I believe it's her cousin, who is convalescing from an illness. And then, she gets there and she realizes this illness is not just like a normal cold. There's some weird shit going on. And it's like
Mm.
spooky house stuff. There's a little bit of romance in there. It's good.
I own that one. Haven't read it.
You have to read it. Oh,
Maybe
it's
we
so
should do a
good.
book club. We'll do a read along together. We'll read a book together and then
Yes.
talk about it. And then I'm gonna force you to watch Jennifer's Body.
Okay. That sounds great. And then we'll talk about it too. We'll
Yeah,
we'll break it
perfect.
down.
Um, one that I really like. I mean, I will preface this by saying it's like 1,000 pages, and there's three of them.
Okay.
So if that's not your
It's a
jam,
commitment.
if you don't like books that like you have to get into, but it's called The Passage by Justin Cronin. And it was made into a short-lived TV show with
Oh,
the guy who played Zach from Saved by the Bell. What's his name?
really?
Yeah, I can't remember what his name is.
I don't remember his
Um,
name either. I just know him as Zach from Saved by the Bell.
yeah, it was short-lived. I didn't particularly like it, but the book is a vampire story. They don't
Oh,
call
okay.
them vampires, but
Okay.
it's one of those.
Okay.
But it is. post-apocalyptic ish. It's hard to describe.
Well, I mean, it
It's
sounds like
not
3,000
post-apocalyptic.
pages for you to describe, so that's a lot.
That's true. I'm like trying to like boil it down to like a two-sentence description.
Yeah.
They're doing experiments on people with a virus that they found in Africa, maybe somewhere in the jungle, maybe not
Okay.
Africa. They get this virus, they're experimenting on people. Um, patient zero escapes and is essentially a vampire. Then, alongside that, there's a little girl with special powers that Zach from Saved by the Bell's character goes and gets her, and they're like driving across the country, and shit goes down, basically.
Mm,
But like,
okay.
there's talking about scenes that stay with you. There's one scene in the first book that like I read it and had to close the book and come back to later
Oh
because it
man.
creeped me out. There's like, and it's one line, which I won't say because you need to read it and like get
Okay.
the full setup to it.
Okay. Need to be
I'll tell
ready.
you offline if you want, but I don't
Okay.
want to tell our 12 followers.
No spoilers for our 12
No
followers.
spoilers for our 12 followers.
That's right.
Um, but like that, there's this scene that ends in this one line that like, it's so good.
Mm.
So that's one that I recommend. Didn't you read a horror book recently that you
Yeah.
really liked?
Yeah. It's the Hacienda. And
Yeah, the
it's
Hacienda.
honestly, it's there's a lot of similarities between it and Mexican Gothic actually, and
Okay.
that they're both set in Mexico. This one is very much a this house is haunted like kind of story, so very like more of a traditional like Gothic scary house stuff
Mm-hmm.
happening. It was really good. It was one of those ones that I just read it like in 2 evenings. I powered through it. It was so
That's
quick.
pretty good.
It also there's also like a there's a romance in it as well with this guy who is like both a priest and a witch, and it's so good. I don't want
Ooh.
to ruin anything, but it
I
is
don't remember
just
you saying that. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, that
All right, all
yeah,
right.
you should read it.
I need to make like my spooky season read and watch list. So I'll add the
Yes,
Hacienda to that.
add it. It's good. And it's a quick read. Like I said, I just read it in a couple evenings and it was so good. And I think what I like so much about that and Mexican Gothic as well is like, yes, there are all of these horror elements and it's very like gothic and kind of scary and stuff. But a lot of it is really rooted in real world stuff. I mean, it's kind of like the trauma of colonialism and the trauma of racism and all of these things are sort of embedded into it. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's just in addition to being like such a good story, it also makes you kind of think about these topics in sort of a different kind of way. I don't know, it's like it feels very real because of those real world aspects. So even though you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, that house probably wouldn't do that in real life, you're still like, oh, but these seeds of racism and colonialism exist in the real world, and like and there are horrors that people experience because of that. I don't know, it just makes you think, I guess. So I love it so much.
Good. That's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
You did a much better job than I did talking about the passage. Like you wouldn't know that I work in marketing talking about books when
Look.
I babbled through my description of the book.
It's all good. You said it yourself. That was like 3,000 pages. If you asked me to
I
explain,
also read it like literally 12 years ago.
yeah,
So
there you go. I read the Hacienda like 2 weeks ago. So it's you know, it's still pretty fresh in my mind.
yeah.
Very different.
Well, those are our recommendations. If you have any recommendations, please feel free to tell us what they are, especially me, because I need to get to my 31 days of spooky things to read and watch.
Yes.
And yeah, let us know what you think about horror. If there's any scenes that like you still to this day see in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Some Worries Pod. We would love if you liked and subscribed to our podcast. And until next time, we have been Steph.
And Steph. And We gotta get out of here before that log falls off that truck, Steph. Let's go. We gotta
Oh,
go.
bye.
Bye.